For nearly 2 decades, audiences watched Janelle Brown play one version of a character over and over again. She was the voice of reason, the stabilizer, the woman who swallowed her pride, smoothing over arguments and holding a chaotic, polygamous family together with spreadsheets, patience, and pure willpower. She wasn't loud. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't the one sobbing onto the porch or storming out of camera frame. Janelle was the one quietly going to work at 5 a.m., paying the bills, and telling herself, if I just hang in there, it'll get better. But somewhere between the cul-de-sacs of Las Vegas and that dusty patch of Coyote Pass, something in Janelle snapped quietly. Not with screaming, but with strategy. Not with a big speech, but with a boundary. And that's where our story today really begins. Because now, insiders are whispering that Janelle isn't just moving on, she's planning a secret wedding. Not a TLC wedding. Not a 2-part special. Not a watch me finally get my fairy tale storyline. A private wedding to a new mystery man. And she's laid down one condition that has Cody reeling and TLC executives pacing the floor. No cameras, no crew, no contract, no sister wives. Janelle's New Beginning special. TLC is prohibited. Let that sink in for a second. This is the woman fans have watched struggle in a loveless spiritual marriage for years. The same woman who sat on that couch and calmly explained away Cody's mood swings, broken promises, and moving goalposts. If there was ever a payoff moment the network wanted, it was this. Janelle, in a white dress, walking toward a man who actually chooses her, on camera, in HD, with dramatic music swelling in the background. You know it as well as I do. That episode would have broken ratings. Highest views of the season, 6-figure paycheck on the table. Merch, specials, reaction shows, all of it. And Janelle is reportedly looking at that giant check and saying, keep it. She's choosing love over money, privacy over fame, peace over paydays. And that is not just a choice, that is revenge. Because within the Brown family, there had been an unspoken rule for years. If it happens, it's content. Births, deaths, weddings, divorces, breakdowns, therapy if it's personal. The cameras roll. That was how they paid the bills. That was how they stayed relevant. That was how Cody kept his kingdom alive. Janelle is breaking that rule in one clean move. No more, everything is content. Not this time. Not with this man. Not with this chapter of her life. And while fans are cheering and saying, good for her, protect your peace, there is one person who reportedly cannot handle it, Cody Brown. Now, you might think, why would Cody even care? He is not married to her anymore. He doesn't want to see her move on. He should be relieved, right? Not if you understand how Cody thinks. Sources close say Cody is highly insulted by the camera ban. Not just hurt insulted, because in his mind, he is still entitled to her life's milestone. He wants to be the good ex-husband for the cameras. The guy who shows up, gives a teary speech about healing and forgiveness, hugs the groom, and proves to the world that he's evolved. He wants one last moment in the spotlight, at her expense, by shutting the doors, so to speak, saying, no cameras, no Cody, no TLC. Janelle isn't being petty. She's being free. She's finally saying out loud what she's lived for years. My life doesn't need to be a storyline for Cody's ego anymore. To a narcissist, hatred is still attention. A messy, televised wedding he could attend, comment upon, and cry over, he would eat that up. But indifference? The one thing Cody cannot spin is indifference. That's what this move really is. Janelle isn't just walking away from a TV deal. She's walking away from the idea that she owes anyone, Cody, TLC, or even us as viewers, access to her happiness. She spent 18 seasons sharing her sacrifices with the world. This time, she is keeping the joy for herself. And that's why, for me, the real shock isn't the secret fiancé, or the quiet venue, or even the 6-figure paycheck she's reportedly turning down. It's this. The real plot twist isn't that Janelle is getting married. It's that for the first time in 18 seasons, she doesn't need an audience. For years, Cody Brown has built his image on camera, in confessionals, in conversations with his wives around one core belief. He is the center of the Brown universe, the patriarch, the peacemaker, the decision maker, the one holding everything together. At least, that's the story he told. So when the news that Janelle had had a secret wedding and camera blackout began circulating, what Cody lost wasn't just access to a moment, but to a role. The role he had rehearsed, shaped, and protected for almost 20 years. The benevolent ex-husband. And make no mistake, Cody wanted that role. Sources close to him say that he envisioned himself seated front and center, turning toward the camera with tears in his eyes as he gave a lengthy speech about healing and forgiveness and the family culture. He wanted the world to see how evolved he was, how supportive he could be, how his ex-wife's new chapter somehow reflected his growth. Janelle's wedding was the final scene of his redemption arc in his mind. He had pictured himself shaking the groom's hand, laughing warmly, proving he was still the hero of this story, even if the bride wasn't his anymore. But Janelle didn't just shut the door on cameras. She closed the door on Cody's storyline. And that, more than anything, was what detonated his pride. Cody has always fed on narrative control. He knows how to act for the cameras. He has since day one, season one. When he cried, it was filmed. When he lectured, it was filmed. When he felt betrayed, misunderstood, or victimized, it was filmed. Cameras were his mirror. They reflected him back to himself, showing him the way he wanted to be seen. But now, Janelle's wedding is happening without him, without producers, without confessional chairs, without a mic pack glued to his shirt so he can explain his truth. He cannot spin this. He cannot reframe it. He cannot perform through it. This is the first major milestone in Brown family history, where Cody has zero narrative power. That is a direct hit to the ego of a man whose persona is built on his ability to shape the story. Psychologists call this a narcissistic injury, the emotional collapse that occurs when someone who thrives on control suddenly loses it. It's not heartbreak. It's not sadness. It's not regret. It's wounded pride. It's not that Cody is devastated about Janelle marrying another person. He's devastated because she's doing it without him, without giving him a role, without giving him screen time, without giving him the opportunity to present himself as the wise, forgiving patriarch rising above the past. For Cody, visibility equals value. If he wasn't part of the event, if he wasn't filmed, if he couldn't comment about it, in his mind, it's as if the event didn't count. So, when he reportedly asked the question, "Does our relationship of so many years have no value at all?" what he truly meant was, "How dare you erase my presence from your story?" It is because that question isn't based on love or nostalgia. It's rooted in entitlement. It shows he feels that Janelle owes him inclusion, acknowledgement, or gratitude for simply being part of her past. But Janelle isn't erasing the past. She's erasing his ownership of it. For Cody, the Brown family was always his kingdom. His wives, his children, his property, his narrative. He believed the weddings, the births, the name changes, all of it, were extensions of him. But now, Janelle is getting married quietly. Her name change is a private matter. Her children support her, not him. Her future is unfolding off camera, far away from his influence. Everything he once claimed as part of his legacy is moving forward, without him. This is the ego death he never prepared for. What's making Cody spiral even harder is how the fans are reacting. Instead of insisting on coverage of the wedding, instead of griping about being left out, instead of feeling deprived of a big TV moment, fans are saying, "Good for her. Protect your peace. She deserved privacy. This is the happiest ending she could choose." The audience, the group he has always considered his own, is now cheering for a storyline that does not involve him. They are applauding because he is not present. That public endorsement of Janelle's independence was another blow to Cody's ego. For the first time, he isn't the protagonist. He isn't even the antagonist. He's just irrelevant. For Cody, the worst punishment isn't anger or revenge. It's being edited out of the story completely. Every great turning point in a woman's life begins with one quiet decision. I deserve peace. For Janelle Brown, it wasn't the camera crew, a contract, or a man with perfect hair giving endless speeches about loyalty that ultimately gave her peace. It came from someone completely different, now being called the anti-Kody by fans. The new mysterious partner does not need to be loud, flashy, and obsessed with attention. He doesn't need interviews, doesn't want screen time, and has zero desire to be the next David Woolley-style fan favorite. While Cody represents chaos, ego, and endless drama, this man represents calm, privacy, and stability. He's steady. He's grounded. And most importantly, he loves Janelle without needing the world watching. Insiders close to him describe him as quiet, private, and emotionally present, the exact opposite of a man Janelle spent almost 30 years trying to rationalize on national television. Where Cody walks into a room demanding attention, this man walks in and listens. Where Cody considered every moment a performance, this man considers every moment real life. Where Cody fed off controversy, this man avoids it altogether. He is not after fame. He is not interested in spin-offs. He is not trying to become a part of the Sister Wives brand. In fact, he reportedly was the one encouraging the wedding blackout, not to isolate Janelle, not to hide her joy, to protect her from the environment that hurt her for so long, the cameras, pressure, rewrites, manipulation, and circus that Cody was in. This man didn't merely offer Janelle a ring. He offered her a safe haven. Think about what Janelle has lived through. Years of emotional neglect, years of being the logical one, the one who didn't complain enough to get attention, years of being overshadowed by drama, favoritism, and constant instability. Now, imagine getting into the arms of a person whose entire presence feels like relief, someone who doesn't demand loyalty, but inspires it, someone who doesn't need her to be the mediator, because he brings his own emotional maturity to the table, someone who doesn't make her life harder, because he actually cares about her peace. For the first time, Janelle isn't choosing survival. She's choosing safety. She's choosing simplicity. She's choosing a man who brings calm, not chaos. And those who see this transformation most clearly are Harrisons, Gabriel, Garrison, Logan, Hunter. Even the youngest of the boys lived through the fallout of their father's choices. They saw the yelling, the gaslighting, the favoritism, the absence. They watched their mother cry, sacrifice, and fight for scraps of attention. So when Janelle started bringing in this new man into her life, reportedly, the boys did not just accept him, they respected him. Some insiders even say they are helping with the secret wedding preparations. Just think about the symbolism of that. Cody's own sons standing beside a man who treats their mother better than he ever did. A man who gained their trust through presence, niceness, and predictability. This is the quiet transfer of loyalty that Cody never saw coming, not because the boys desired a new father figure, but because at the end they finally saw how their mother should all along have been treated. The emotional story is powerful, but the financial story is a thriller. She walked away from a 6-figure TLC wedding check without even blinking. She doesn't need it. Why? Because she spent the last few years quietly doing something brilliant, rebuilding her independence from the inside out. RV living? People mocked it, but it slashed her expenses. Plexus? People underestimated it, but it created income streams Cody couldn't touch. Real estate license? That's long-term security. Separate LLCs? That's financial autonomy. While Cody was busy playing King of Coyote Pass, Janelle was building a war chest, and now she's financially untouchable. This leads us to the next battlefield, Coyote Pass, the land that destroyed the Brown family. If Janelle requests her equity from that land, then one of two things happens. 1, Cody pays her out, or 2, the land has to be sold, destroying Cody's dream compound forever. The poetic justice writes itself. Behind the scenes, reports say Robin is terrified, not because she cares about Janelle's love life, but because she really cares about the money. Janelle was a consistent and reliable financial engine in the family. Her TLC income, her 401k, her business revenue, they flowed into the Brown machine for years. Hair gone? The financial pressure lands squarely on Cody and Robin. No buffer, no scapegoat, no second income streams. And when Cody gets stressed, he doesn't implode quietly. He spirals, and the only one left in the house to absorb that is Robin. This wedding isn't just emotional warfare. It's financial warfare, and Cody and Robin are losing on every front. Janelle's real revenge isn't the wedding ring. It's the fact that Cody can't afford to lose her, and she finally can afford to leave him. There are breakups, there are divorces, and then there is a nuclear-level detachment that comes when a woman decides to change her name, not for vanity, not for aesthetics, but for liberation. And that, according to insiders, is precisely what Janelle Brown did, quietly, rapidly, and without a courtesy text to Cody. No heads up, no warning, no, out of respect. I wanted you to know. Nothing, just a clean erasure of the last name that had defined her public identity for almost 3 decades. But to grasp why this move is the deepest cut in the whole saga, you have to comprehend what the Brown name represents in their faith. It is not simply a legal label. It's not just a brand of television. It's a covenant. The reports are stunning. Janelle has dropped Brown, and she did it without telling Cody, the man who once believed she was sealed to him for eternity. For the most part, changing your name is paperwork. To Janelle, it is spiritual warfare. It is the final, irreversible boundary saying, I am no longer part of your kingdom. And make no mistake, Kody is a king unto himself, the patriarch, the priesthood holder, the celestial leader who thought the women he married on Earth would follow him, eternally, into his imagined afterlife planet. So, when Janelle drops his name, she isn't just refusing to marry him, she's rejecting his cosmic ownership narrative. Within the Apostolic United Brethren belief structure, the name is not symbolic, it is sacred. When the woman takes the husband's name, what it represents is spiritual sealing, patriarchal alignment, eternal belonging, participation in his celestial kingdom. Keeping the name after a divorce often means keeping the spiritual tie, or at least honoring the history. But dropping the name? Dropping the name is a full religious severing. It's the equivalent of tearing up the celestial contract. She is saying, I am not your eternal wife. I do not accept your authority. I do not belong to your priesthood power. I am opting out of your afterlife. This is not just divorce. This is excommunication of the relation. And Kody, who has repeatedly referred to sealing, covenant, and eternal family, cannot process that kind of rejection. He had used priesthood leadership to justify his behavior for many years. Dropping the Brown name is a full rejection of that role for Janelle. She does not recognize him anymore as her spiritual head, her eternal partner, or her religious authority. In Kody's theology, a man's glory in the afterlife is measured by the number of wives sealed to him. It's his spiritual scoreboard. By leaving, Janelle takes herself and all 6 of her children out of his eternal count. His heavenly kingdom diminishes. His imagined power evaporates. That is the part Kody can't swallow. Janelle isn't just walking away from earthbound marriage. She's refusing to participate in the story he wrote for her future. She is removing herself from his past, his present, and his eternity. It's not simply a rejection. The name change is a rebirth. For years, she was Janelle Brown, wife #2, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the backbone of a collapsing empire. But to drop the name means to reclaim the woman she was prior to the show consuming her identity. Whether she reverts to her maiden name or takes up her new husband's name, the message remains the same. I am no longer defined by your chaos. She is stepping out of the brown shadow and into her own light. This is identity reclamation in its purest form. For her children, the name change is not merely paperwork, it's a guidepost, a signal, a release. For years, they lived beneath the emotional burden of Kody's expectations, rules, and shifting affections. Now, through her actions, Janelle is telling them, you don't have to carry his legacy. You don't have to carry his drama. You are not bound to his story. She walks them out of the personality cult that Kody built around himself, generational healing, masquerading as a signature on a form. Let's be blunt. Kody doesn't consider this to be a name change. He sees it as betrayal. He sees it as proof that he is losing control, losing relevance, losing the women he once believed would orbit around him forever. He didn't just lose a wife. In his worldview, he lost a queen. And without Janelle in his celestial lineup, his imagined kingdom looks embarrassingly small. It is the deepest injury to his pride in this whole story. Paperwork can be sitting in a courthouse, but the true change of name is taking place in Janelle's soul and in her children's memory. If the clock is to be rewound to the very earliest days of Sister Wives, that story began in a crowded house in Lehi, Utah. She was the woman who got up at 4 a.m. to pack lunch for the kids and commute the long distances to work so that the family could stay afloat. She was the financial backbone, the steady hand, the quiet soldier, marching forward, while everyone else was wrestling with emotion, jealousy, or drama. And Kody? He was the man with the dream, the patriarch with the plan. The voice says, we are going to build something incredible. But now, after 2 decades of sacrifices and cross-country relocations, of broken trusts and unraveling relationships, that empire has crumbled under the weight of his ego. And the woman who once kept it together is the same woman who has burned it down with silence, strategy, and freedom. The contrast could not be more cinematic. Then, Janelle had to commute long hours, setting her own dreams aside so the family finances wouldn't fall apart. Shared kitchens, shared bedrooms, shared resources, a life built around supporting Kody's vision. Now, a private, elegant wedding miles away from cameras. A new name, a new partner who puts peace over publicity. A woman who is not in need of Kody, TLC, or a contract anymore to confirm her existence. This isn't just a new chapter. It is a completely different book. She went from being the CFO wife who held the family's budget together to setting boundaries, finding her identity again, and walking into a future that belongs solely to her. Here's the harsh reality that network executives don't want to say out loud. Without Janelle and Christine, the show simply doesn't work. Think about what's left to film. Cody and Robin in a mansion, complaining. That's it. No dynamic wives, no family culture, no redemption arcs, no conflict with substance. A tale of just a couple who sit on expensive furniture, lamenting why everyone left them gets old fast. The ratings already show the shift. Audiences aren't tuning in for Cody's perspective any longer. They tune in for the wives' escape story, for their healing, for their independence. Christine leaving was the shock. Janelle leaving was the confirmation. The show has become a countdown clock and the network knows it. Let's be honest, if TLC announced a show entitled Life After Cody, it would break the internet. A Janelle divided by Christine-centric spin-off would undoubtedly be followed in droves, traveling together, buying home, healing their kids, starting businesses, planning weddings, living freely. They are relatable. They are warm. They are real. But Cody? His arc is complete. He has gone from patriarch to punchline. His audience has shrunk. The fan base no longer roots for him. They root for the women who escaped him. A show that focuses on Cody and Robin would crash within a season. The emotional investment just isn't there. But a show focused on the ex-wives rebuilding their lives? That's gold. That's empowerment. That's the future. Let's paint the picture clearly. Cody is now down to one wife, but even that relationship is strained under financial stress and public criticism. The land at Coyote Pass is still unpaid for and shrinking in value. Most of his adult children are estranged or emotionally distant. His authority is gone. His reputation is tarnished. His presence within the family story is slipping away with each passing day. Worst of all, he has no control over the story anymore. She took that power and stepped outside the spotlight, closing the curtain behind her. And Cody, who lived for visibility, attention, and narrative dominance, is now a man watching his own legacy dissolve in real time. The brilliance of Janelle's exit is that she didn't yell, she didn't slam doors, she didn't go on Instagram Live, she didn't monetize the heartbreak. She simply made decisions, quietly, deliberately, powerfully. Leaving the show? A boundary. Dropping the Brown name? A rebirth. Refusing to film her wedding? A declaration that her happiness is not for sale. Janelle went from being the wife who put up with everything to the woman who owes nothing. This is closure at its highest form. Not anger, not revenge, but rising. In many ways, Janelle's private wedding really is the true finale of Sister Wives. Not the fanfare of a televised special. Not the dramatic fight in a driveway. Not modern confessionals, either. But one day, a woman wakes up and decides she no longer wants her life filmed. A woman who walked out of the frame and into her future. That is the ending the audience waited 18 seasons to see. Janelle Brown didn't just leave a marriage. She quietly burnt down the empire that was built on her back and walked away with the only thing that really matters, her freedom.